Okay, good evening everyone. Welcome to this webinar on IIM Kozhikode form filling and second stage process. In this session, we will be discussing the essay type questions that IIMK has in its form, and we will discuss some ways you can improve your answers, you can give better answers to this form. As this session progresses, do note that you can always type in your questions in the chat box that we have. Not the Q&A box, but rather the chat box that we have. We will be taking up these questions from time to time as the session progresses. Now, before we start, to tell you briefly about myself, I'm Rahul Krishnan. I have completed my MBA from IIMK itself, back of 2007, and I have been with CL for the last 2.5 years. Overall, I have close to 3 years of teaching experience. So I'll be taking you through this session. Let's start with the session now. Once again, I repeat, if you have any questions, do type them in the chat box. Not the Q&A box, but rather the chat box. As the session progresses, we will be taking up these questions from time to time. So this is what we would be discussing, the guidelines to form filling and the selection process for the second stage. Now, when we come to the essay type questions which are there in the IIMK form, there are 3 questions in section C which deals with employment details. The first question asks you to simply describe your current or most recent job responsibilities. It also asks you to state the knowledge and skills that you have acquired from this experience. Now, as you can see from the slide itself, for the other 2 questions in this section, they have given you a word limit. 250 words is what they recommend that you should not exceed. So, first of all, when you attempt to answer the first question, it may be good to frame your answer to match that same word limit of 250 words. 250 words anyway is quite sufficient to describe your job responsibilities, your current job responsibilities, as well as the knowledge and skills that you would have gained from them. So 250 words should be quite sufficient to answer this question. Now, do note over here that this question asks you only about your current or most recent job responsibility. So let's say there is a candidate, one of you, who has 3 years of experience and has worked in 3 different companies or even more number of companies, or in the same company has worked in 3 different capacities, has been promoted on 2 or 3 or more occasions, and therefore their job responsibilities also have changed. So in this case, mention only your current or most recent job responsibility. Do not talk about your entire progression. Okay? Do note that point. It asks you to describe only your most recent or current job responsibility, not all of the job responsibilities, all of the work experience that you have. State the knowledge and skills that you have acquired from this experience. Again, this will again refer to your current responsibility, your current job profile itself. Do not talk about your past responsibilities. That is one point that you need to be very careful about when you talk about this. Do not talk about prior responsibilities. Do not talk about earlier responsibilities. Achha, one question that has come from Salvika is, sir, what about those who do not have experience? See, if you do not have work experience, do not talk about it. That's it. You will, in that case, even in the work experience number of months column, you would simply write 0. Similarly, over here, you can simply write NA, not applicable. Achha, also note that when we talk about work experience, these schools generally consider full-time work experience after graduation only, after completion of graduation only. So if you have done some part-time work, especially before completing your graduation, then that may not really be applicable over here. Still, if you look at the way the question is framed, the question per se or the section does not seem to differentiate at all between full-time or part-time work and does not differentiate between work that you have done after graduation or before completing your graduation. So use this opportunity to talk about whatever work, whatever job you may have done. Another question that has come again is, what about recent graduates? What do we need to write? Well, as we discussed, those who do not have any work experience can simply write not applicable over here, can simply leave it blank. There is no harm in that. Another question that has come from Shubham is, I wanted to know whether we need to assume a zero knowledge for the subject and thus explain the job, or can we assume basic knowledge in our explanation? Yes, certainly do assume basic knowledge in your explanation. If you assume that those who read your answers to these forms have no experience at all, have no understanding at all of what you're talking about, then your answers will become very lengthy, which may end up repelling somebody, which may end up appearing as though you are simply taking too many words, you are being wordy about your job. So do assume that yes, the standard level of knowledge or the average level of knowledge will be present even in those who check your answers for this. So do not assume that you have to provide even very basic details. If I mention my technical details which the panel might not be aware of, should I explain it in layman terms? No, where you have certifications or diplomas, etc., or let's say there is somebody who knows a particular programming language, mention that directly. There is no need to go deeper into that. Use the standard terms. If you write your CV, when you write your CV, your resume, etc., there you will not go very deep into your technical details. You will just give brief pointers. If let's say if I know 5 different programming languages, I will just mention that. If I have done my engineering from a particular branch, I will simply mention that branch. I will not start in my CV or in my resume, I will not end up giving a detailed description of what that branch entails, what all my team entails. We will definitely assume that those who look at our CV will have that basic information. The same principle will be applicable even over here. When talking about knowledge and skills, do we need to mention about only soft skills or technical skills as well? Both can be mentioned. There is absolutely nothing in the guidelines which says that you have to mention only your soft skills or your technical skills. So do mention both. Can we write about internships done during graduation? Can we fill internships and summer training details? Yes, definitely. As you can see, they have not specified anywhere that you have to talk about only part-time experience or only full-time experience. No such thing has been specified. We have already discussed this point. See over here, no such thing has been mentioned. It has also not been mentioned that you have to talk about only that work experience which you have acquired after completion of graduation, after completion of your degree, etc. So do mention whatever work you have done, whatever job you have had. You can mention that. Another question that has come is an answer of around 100 words okay, or should it be elaborated to around 200 words? See, for this question, they have not specified any word limit. Hence, you can use as many words as you want. For the other two questions, as you can see, 250 words is the limit. Hence, you should ideally try to, even for this question, not exceed 250 words. Because it is entirely possible that the people at Kozhikode would have wanted to keep that kind of word limit for this, but it may be simply a typing error that has not been mentioned next to this question. So ideally, try not to exceed 250 words even for the first question. Achha, can we write less than 250 words for 2 and 3 questions? Yes, definitely you can. The instructions do not say your answer has to be in 250 words exactly. It simply says not exceeding 250 words. So certainly your answer can take less number of words. For all 3 of these questions, your answer can take less number of words. There is no harm in that. Achha, one question that has come is, as I have recently changed my company in the last 2 months, can I describe responsibility in the previous one? No, you should not mention your responsibility in the previous one. Since you have already changed your job, the question clearly says describe briefly your current or most recent job responsibility. Your current job, if you are currently working, will itself be your most recent job responsibility. Hence, do ensure that you talk about your current responsibility. When you fill up these forms, these application forms for the different institutes from which you have got calls, do remember that in many cases, panels will read your forms, they will have prepared questions, and when you go there for your interview, they may very well query you on that. They may very well ask you questions on what you have written in your form. Hence, do not, go against, do not violate the guidelines, do not violate the instructions. If you talk about your previous responsibility, even though you have a different job right now, you have different profile right now, the panel may very well question you, why did you not talk about your previous work? Why did you not talk about your current work? And you may not have any justification for that. So do talk about your current job itself. One question that has come is, my answers are about 100 words each for each of these questions. That is perfectly all right, as we have discussed. No harm in that. Do not exceed the 250 word limit. Achha, many people are pointing out that they cannot hear anything. Those who cannot hear anything, please check your speakers, please check your connection. I'll just type this out as well. Okay, so this then is the most important. These then are the most important points that we have discussed so far. Talk about your current or most recent job responsibility itself. You can talk about part-time work. You can talk about summer internship or any articleship, etc. that you may have had. There is no problem with those. Achha, for questions 2 and 3. Describe briefly the most important situation in which you have demonstrated leadership skills during your professional career. Similarly, in which you have demonstrated your ability to work in teams during your professional career. These 2 questions, questions 2 and 3, these 2 do not mention your current or previous job responsibility. They simply talk about your entire professional career. So you can talk about anything and everything from your entire professional career. You can talk about an experience in the first year of your job, in the very first job that you have had. There is no harm in this. Can talk about any part of your experience over here. Achha. Also note here that these questions, when you talk about situations where you have demonstrated leadership skills or demonstrated your ability to work in teams, you may think for this question, for these 2 questions, questions 2 and 3, these talk about only the most important situation. But in an interview, you may not for your interview, you may not be able to get away with talking about just one such experience. you may be queried about more such situations. You may be asked to describe 2 or 3 situations where you have demonstrated leadership skills, or where you have shown your ability in teamwork and so on. So ideally, when you prepare for your interview, for your form, just mentioning one situation for both of these questions is good enough. But for your interview, prepare more such examples. For your interview, do ensure that you have at least about 3 examples for each of these cases. Kindly also note that in your interview, you will often also have questions based on things like your strengths and weaknesses. Now, when you are asked about your strengths and weaknesses, often the panel will also ask you to give examples, give instances where your strengths have helped you or where your weaknesses have hurt you. Even for those, examples are asked very often in interviews. And again, even for these examples, ideally you should have at least about 2 to 3 examples prepared. Ideally, at least around 3 examples should be prepared. That will always work in your favor. That will always be to your benefit. So do ensure that you have done that much homework before going for your interview. As far as this form is concerned, yes, for questions 2 and 3, you are only being asked for one situation. But for your interview, I repeat, do prepare at least 3 examples. Not only of those situations where you have shown leadership skills or your ability as far as teamwork is concerned, but even prepare, be very clear about what you will talk about when you are asked about instances that reflect any of your strengths or weaknesses. Do be prepared for these as well. These are standard interview questions. Even in your PDP handbook, in your interview concept chapter, you would have seen such questions. Okay, one question that has come up from Kapil Agrawal. How to show leadership skills for the work experience of just 6 months, as I have just started a job? See, leadership skills, first of all, any personal initiative that you may have taken can be talked about. Even something like applying for the job when you may have just heard about it, when you may have just seen an opportunity and then opted for it, even that can be talked about. Plus, even in your 6 months in your office, you may have come up with some ideas, you may have come up with some input. There may have been some situation where you took some initiative and volunteered to do some work. Even that would be counted as leadership skills. If somebody is at a relatively starting position, then certainly they may not be they may not be in a position where they are mentoring many individuals, they are supervising many individuals. But leadership skills is not simply about leading others. Leadership skills would also be about taking charge of a situation, showing initiative in a situation, volunteering for some assignments. Even that would be a leadership role. So even in a 6 months of work experience, there could very well be some situations where you would have shown some initiative. You can definitely talk about those. Those will definitely be counted as instances where you have shown leadership skills. Okay, Sandeep, they has a question for the leadership skill question. Can I talk about some cases during my college? See, for this question, it talks about your professional career. So something that you did during your college as part of a project, etc., that would not be counted as professional career. That would be counted as part of your part of your academic studies itself. So that example would not be applicable over here. Ronak has a question, how to prove about team player. Here again, you can talk about your contribution to team, or if you have led teams, you can definitely describe those. Even if you have not led teams, even if you have simply worked as part of a team, where you have contributed to the team, where you have come up with better ideas, all of those things can be talked about. I have been working as a sales representative since 2011 in a part-time job where earnings are not fixed. I will be graduating this year in April. Can I mention about it in job details? Yes, you can definitely mention it. See, if you have done some work before completing your graduation, as you can see, the questions do not specify that you cannot talk about it or should not talk about it. The questions do not mention any such thing at all. Hence, whatever work experience you have, do talk about that. And in the worst case, what will happen? In the worst case, the panel will not give you any extra marks, will not give you any weight for work experience prior to your graduation or for part-time work experience. But they certainly will not deduct marks for such work experience. They will not give you negative marks just because you have done part-time work. So whatever work you have done, do mention that. It will either fetch you some extra marks or it will at least give you some points to talk about in your interview, points that you will anyway be able to handle since you have done that work. My team leader went for me for days. I took his responsibilities for the time being. Shall I mention that in leadership skills? Hina Bansal has this question. Yes, Hina, you can definitely mention this. You can even mention this as part of teamwork if you have something else to talk about for leadership skills. It will be applicable in both cases. For people with no experience, again, I repeat, the answers will be key. You have to leave these questions blank. You have to say not applicable. Okay. Any further question on this section? Do note, once again, I repeat, for questions 2 and 3, you can talk about any part of your work experience. Further, these questions ask you about only one such situation, but for your interview, do prepare at least 2 to 3 such situations, 2 to 3 such instances. Because when you go for your interview, again I repeat, it may very well happen that the panel would have read your answer and they may question you, the situation that you have described. That is not really a good example of somebody showing leadership skills or somebody showing teamwork, and they may question you in this manner and they may ask you to give further examples. So for your interview, do be prepared with more such examples. Similarly, for strengths and weaknesses, do be prepared to give examples where you have your strengths have helped you or your weaknesses have hurt you. Should we provide specific details for the situation on leadership and teamwork? Vishal has this question. Yes, Vishal, you can provide specific details. Do ensure that you do not cross the word limit and do ensure that you do not give unnecessary details. For example, if there is a teamwork situation where what happens is I have 5 teammates or 5 people working under me and 2 of them are not getting along well with each other, and I sit down with them and I get them to open up to each other and remove their disconnect, then in such a situation, perhaps giving examples of what are, perhaps giving specific details about the work may not be very relevant. Simply mentioning that 2 people are not being able to get along with each other, they are hostile to each other, as a result work is suffering, and that itself should be good enough. So do not give unnecessary details. That's all, and do not cross the word limit. Okay, we will move to the next section then. I think we have discussed this in detail. Even now, if you have any other questions about this section, do keep posting them. I will take up those questions. I will answer those questions. We will move on to the next section then. Career plans. The standard area, the standard set of questions that you get in many different institutes. Why do you wish to go for a management career? What alternative careers are you considering and why? Describe your strengths and weaknesses as identified by you. What is your most significant accomplishment so far? Strengths and weaknesses we have already discussed earlier. Whatever strengths and weaknesses you mentioned, do ensure that you have already prepared examples where your strengths and weaknesses have hurt you, have helped you or hurt you respectively. So do be prepared with such examples. Now, describe your strengths and weaknesses. This does not explain how many strengths or how many weaknesses to mention. Typically in such a situation, what we would say is you should ideally mention at least 3 strengths. You can mention more strengths, no harm in that, but do ensure that you mention at least 3 strengths. As far as weaknesses are concerned, even one weakness may be good enough. Ideally, do mention at least 2 weaknesses. This is what we typically advise people on. To say something like, I do not have weaknesses, yeah, I am not aware of my weaknesses, may indicate that your self-awareness is poor. If I say that I do not have any weaknesses at all, it may show that I am rather egoistic or arrogant. So ideally, we should be a mature person, a thoughtful person would be expected to have good amount of self-awareness, and hence at least 1 to 2 weaknesses are expected. For strengths, the question on strengths gives you an opportunity to highlight yourself, to present good points about yourself, so you can present more strengths as well. Once again, I repeat, be prepared for instances, examples where your strengths and weaknesses have helped or hurt you. Such questions come very often in interviews. Now, for strengths, also note that whatever you mention in your answer about strengths, that should be consistent. Let's say I mention in my strengths, I am very good at communicating with others. I am very good at persuading others. I am very good at listening to others. Then in weaknesses, I say that I am very impatient, very impulsive. Then my strengths and weaknesses will not be consistent. A panel may straight away question, on what basis are you claiming that you have good persuasion powers, good powers of teamwork, etc. If you are impatient, impulsive, then you are not very likely to listen to others. Hence, your ability to persuade others, etc., can be questioned. So, whatever strengths and weaknesses you plan to write about, do ensure that you are consistent. Further, if you talk about something like I'm good at communication or my communication skills are good, then do note that you will have to write an essay over there, you will have to write an interview over there. You will have to appear for an interview over there in front of the panel. So if you claim that my communication skills are good, and then it turns out that your speaking skills can be improved, there is scope for improvement here, there, or that in your writing you make lots of spelling mistakes or grammatical errors, even such basic errors as punctuation errors, then panels can question you about that. They can challenge what you have mentioned about your own strengths. So do ensure that when you are mentioning a strength or a weakness, it is indeed something that is true to you. It is not something that you are simply making up. Because in an interview, you may be queried on these, you may be cross-questioned, you may be asked to justify these to support your statements regarding this. So be thorough in your introspection before you answer this. And do note that whatever strengths and weaknesses you mention over here, they can very well be queried in your interview. So don't just think I'll mention something over here and get away with it. It may not happen. The same question may very well turn up in your interview as well, and may turn out to be a critical part of your interview. One very good question, Ankit Jindal. Do we need to give an examples with strengths and weaknesses in written? As you can see over here, they have only asked you to describe your strengths and weaknesses. So you do not need to give any examples, any instances over here. The examples, instances that I talked about, that we have discussed, that preparation is for your interview. You do not have to mention those instances over here. Please note, I'll write it down as well. Do not mention any examples here. It will only end up taking board space, plus it will appear as though you have possibly not understood the instructions. The instructions here have not asked for examples. Salvika has another question. There are no word limits for this. How detailed should our answers be? Again, your answers should not be more than about 100 to 150 words. Since you are only describing your strengths and weaknesses, about 100 to 150 words should be good enough. As far as the question on your most significant accomplishments so far is concerned, here you can use up more words if it takes more words to describe your accomplishment. Similarly, for alternative careers or management careers, Typically, you will see that different institutes say that you should answer somewhere between 50 to 150 words. In some institutes, the word limit would be about 50. In some, you will have as much as about 150 words. So ideally, even over here, you should try to keep your answer within that limit. Around 100 to 150 words will be good enough to explain why you wish to go for your management career, what alternative careers you have in mind. In some few cases, the reasoning may be such as to require more work. But in most cases, you will find that about 100 to 150 words will be good enough. So try not to exceed that 100 to 150 word limit for this. Also note that if we write too much, it may end up, we may end up making errors, making mistakes. So it really does not add value if we write too much. It may even whosoever is reading our answer, if we are writing too much. So keep your answers precise. That will be advisable. Acha, while we were discussing this, some people have typed in key bullet points will be good enough. We will just give words. Ideally, when you are answering any of these essay type questions, you should use full sentences. You should use complete sentences. It looks much neater. It is much more readable. So ideally, do not go for bullet points. If you are asked to list out certain things, in those cases, you may use bullet points. For example, even in the Kozhikode form, they have asked you for your extracurricular achievements at various levels. Now, for those questions, you may simply list out your achievements. There, you may use bullet points. But for the section 3 questions and these section 4 questions, you should not be using bullet points. Write proper sentences. That will be advisable. Achha, so we have discussed this question. Describe your strengths and weaknesses as identified by you. Akriti has a question for most significant achievement. Would it be fine if we cite an accomplishment at school level? Yes, for most significant achievement, as you can see, again, they have not mentioned anything about it. They have not said you have to talk only about your professional career or about your acads or any such thing. Hence, your most significant accomplishment can be absolutely anything. It may even be something that you have done within your family. Even let's say within your family, if you have had some problems, some issues, and if you have been able to sort it out, even that may very well be an achievement. Let's say there is somebody in my family who is sick, and if I was able to look after that person well, and at the same time keep up with my studies, keep up with my other assignments, even that can be my most significant accomplishment. There is no harm in mentioning such things as well. Getting an IIM call can be called as a most significant accomplishment. Yes, you can call. You can say that that is your most significant accomplishment, especially if, say, while preparing for your entrance test or while preparing for CAT, if you were in your final year of graduation or if you were doing some work as well, then yes, managing two different assignments, two different roles side by side can very well be a very significant accomplishment. Do note over here though that when students have given such answers, in a few cases, panels have asked, let's say close to 5,000 to 6,000 students will be getting calls from different IIMs for the WAPI stage, for the second stage. So, is it really that much of an achievement if you are one of those 6,000 or 7,000 people? So be prepared for such cross questioning. There is no harm in saying that getting an IIM call is your most significant accomplishment. There is no harm in saying this, but do be prepared for defending your answer, for justifying your answer. As we were discussing, especially in cases where people had other assignments as well, when people had some problems as well. Let's say, for example, somebody is from an arts background. For them, mathematics may be an area that they are not very comfortable with. So for them, doing well in CAT and getting an IIM call can definitely be a big achievement, especially if they have done well in section 1, in the QADI section. Similarly, if somebody is from a small town or a relatively impoverished family and they are not very good at communication, they're not very good at English, still if they manage a call from an IIM, it would definitely be considered a very significant accomplishment. Can significant accomplishment be a personal accomplishment like a change in personality? Yes, it can definitely be a change in your personality. There is no harm in that. Okay, now let us move to the first two questions of this page. So far, we had not discussed this part. Why do you wish to go for a management career? What alternative careers are you considering and why? The reason I did not take up this question is we had already talked about strengths and weaknesses. So I continued with that, and most significant accomplishment, again, accomplishment in your professional career is something that we had discussed earlier. So I continued with that sequence. Now let us focus on why do you wish to go for a management career? What alternative careers are you considering and why? One question that has come here is, what should be written for the first question? Is it the same as why MBA? See, yes, to a large extent, why MBA is effectively what you will be writing about over here. When IMK asks you why do you wish to go for a management career, it is on the basis of the fact that you have applied for MBA, that they are assuming that you are interested in a career in management. So yes, this question is very similar to the question on why MBA. So when you write your answer for this question, again, do be prepared for from an interview perspective. Do be prepared for justifying your answers. When you talk about why MBA, ideally what you should do is, for this question, those of you who have attended your interview concept class or your smart interview tracker, you would already have discussed this. See, ideally for this question, you should have a goal in life, and then you should be able to talk about how MBA will help you achieve that goal, will lead you to that goal. This is what effectively should come out in the answer to this question. So first of all, over here, it is not sufficient to simply talk about what all MBA will provide for you. Instead, you should first talk about your career goal, and then you can talk about how MBA will help you achieve those goals. This would be the best way of answering this question. And in this manner, you will be able to justify your answer as well. Again, be honest, do not be artificial, do not make up answers. For example, many candidates very often respond that they want to go for MBA because they want to start a business of their own. But the problem with this is, if you look at many successful entrepreneurs, some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, you will find that they are not MBAs. Dhirubhai Ambani, who started the Reliance Group, he was a 10th standard dropout. Bill Gates did not even complete his engineering, forget about MBA. Steve Jobs, again, no MBA. If you talk about some of the biggest entrepreneurs, most successful entrepreneurs, they have not had any MBA. So can I really justify that I definitely need to have an MBA to become an entrepreneur? There is absolutely no connect over there. Further, even if I claim that I want to start my own business, hence I want to go for MBA, the immediate question that will come up is, okay, in which field do you want to start your business? What kind of business do you want to start? Do you have any business plan ready? If I do not have any business plan, if I do not have any idea about this, if I just say, sir, I plan to complete my MBA, then work for 4 or 5 or more years, then I'll think of which business to start. This is a very vague answer. It straight away implies that for the next 4 or 5 years, for the next up to 7 years maybe, I am only planning to work in some other company. I have absolutely no idea of what kind of business I will start. Hence, our answers in that case appear very vague, appear very artificial, very made up. So do not give such answers. A very simple answer like, I want career growth, I want to work in good companies and responsible positions, and MBA will help me in career advancement for engineers or for others. Right now, I may be working at a lower level, I may be working closer to the grassroots level, closer to the basic level. Whereas after MBA, I will straight away be able to shift to management roles, managerial roles. I will straight away be able to shift to junior management roles, and which would otherwise take me maybe 10 years or 15 years of work before I reach those levels. So MBA will help me move up in the corporate ladder, move up in the hierarchy, get me better responsibilities, better job profile. That is why I'm interested in an MBA. That can be a very straightforward, very clear-cut answer, where there won't be much scope for cross-questioning, where you won't have much difficulty in justifying your answer as well. So keep your answers as simple, as honest as possible. Do not create answers, do not be artificial in your answering. Ravi Singh has a question. If I say I want to be a consultant, then what could be the follow-up question? Why consultant? Why do you want to be a consultant? What do you know about a consultant's job profile? What exactly is it that attracts you about consultancy? These are some typical questions that you can then expect, Ravi. Acha, what alternative careers are you considering and why? Well, you have a goal in mind, as we have discussed. You should ideally talk about your goals first. Then you should talk about how other options lead you to that goal. What other career paths will also bring you the kind of thing that you are looking from a management career. So, if you are considering other careers, do mention those as well. Similarly, even if you do not have any alternative career plan, let's say you are working in an IT company right now and you want to go for MBA so that you can move up in your hierarchy, there in your job profile, etc. You can very well say that my ultimate goal is advancement, professional advancement. For that, management will help me. Hence, I want to get into this field. Alternative careers, maybe I will continue in my own work and I will acquire more skills here. Maybe I'll go for a master's or even a PhD, and I will continue in that same profession, in that profession in which you are working currently. That can definitely be mentioned. Can we mention job as an alternative career? Yeah, you can definitely mention if I do not go for management, if I am not selected for management, if I do not get a good final selection right now, I will take up a job and I will try again for management people. That answer can definitely be given. One question that we have is, what if someone is not considering any alternative career? See, ideally, for a mature person, for a thoughtful person, again, we repeat this point, you would be expected to be rational in your choices. Hence, there will anyway be a small possibility that you may not get selected to a good institute. Hence, in this case, what exactly are you planning to do? If I say I do not have any backup plans, then it may appear that I am not well prepared for the future. It may appear that the candidate is not very thoughtful, not very rational. Hence, ideally, you should think deeply about alternative possibilities. Think about other ways that can lead you to your goal. MBA is one path to your goal. What other options can be there? For example, masters, even in say a technical field, may take you towards your goal, may bring professional advancement, career advancement to you. So if I don't go for MBA, maybe a master's in some technical field may also be opted for. That can be one very straightforward answer to this. Achha, what if someone questions, Akansha has this question, what if someone questions that people like Bill Gates are non-MBA? What can be a suitable answer? People like Bill Gates, they had some business ideas, they wanted to start working on their ideas, so they went for entrepreneurship, they started their business straight away. On the other hand, I do not wish to start a business of my own at this point of time. I wish to work in industry for some time, learn. Maybe after that, I may think about starting a business, or maybe I'll just work in good companies. For this, MBA will help me. That is why I'm looking for MBA. I am not looking to start a business of my own at this point of time. That can be a very straightforward answer to this question. Akansha. Can I mention that I will opt for executive MBA after 5 years? Yes, you can certainly mention that, Ankit. There is no harm in this answer. I'm into management consulting. Even after doing my MBA, I would like to continue with that. Then what do I answer in the alternative career question? I will continue with my present profile. That itself is a straightforward answer. You do not have to think of anything other than this. Plus, you are into management consulting right now. In that case, let's say your management consulting work is related to the field of finance. If you do not go for MBA, you may think about something like CFA, something like FRM, some diploma, some certification in your line of work. Those other opportunities, those other alternatives can also be mentioned. Can I say that I want to do an MBA because that will make me a good political leader 15 to 20 years down the line? Sai Krishna Medhi Setti has this question. Very interesting question, Sai. Yes, you can give an answer like this, though I personally would not recommend it. The reason I would not recommend it is there can be too many cross questioning from this. You say that an MBA will make you a good political leader 15 to 20 years down the line. Can you give examples of 5 people who have been MBAs and then have been good political leaders? On what basis do you believe that MBA will help you become a good political leader 15 to 20 years down the line? You may be asked these questions in your interview. If you are able to give good answers to these, if you can justify this, then yes, you can go ahead with this answer. Otherwise, I would suggest that it may be very difficult to justify this statement. So what if all the career alternatives that we consider are managerial in nature? Do we need to consider an entirely different career? Ashish has this question, Ashish Gupta. Good question, Ashish. And the straightforward answer is no, you do not need to consider an entirely different career. There is absolutely no such thing in life. If I look at anybody's career, for anybody working in other companies, working in somebody's company, our ultimate goal is to advance. Our ultimate goal is to advance up the corporate ladder, advance up the hierarchy, get a better paying job, get a better profile. So, when you talk about alternative career paths, etc., that are being considered, you can talk about different choices that take you up the corporate ladder itself. There is no reason to say, I have to think of something that goes outside the corporate world, that takes me entirely outside the corporate world. No such answer needs to be given. Acha, Tanmay Verma has come up with a very common question. How to justify the shift in streams from engineering to management without any work experience? This is a very common question that many students have. If I'm asked this question when the while MBA question comes up, what answer will I give? See, for this question, a very common, a very straightforward answer would be, right now I have done my engineering. Right now, if I start working straight away in some company, I will be working at a lower level. I will be working at a junior level. I will have to work for around 10 to 15 years before I can reach management levels. On the other hand, engineering has given me technical knowledge. Now, if I go for MBA straight away, then I will get some other skills, some business related skills as well. And I will straight away, after 2 years of my MBA, I will straight away start working at the junior management level, at the starting level of management. So MBA will help me bridge this gap. MBA will give me faster career growth. That is why I'm going for MBA right now. This can be a very straightforward answer, a very honest and clear-cut answer. There cannot be any cross question on an answer like this. Further, do remember that if you look at the top D schools, the IIMs alone, typically between 25 to 30% of students at the different IIMs are freshers. Many of these freshers will be engineers as well. Many freshers will be even from other fields of graduation. For all these people who do not have any work experience, this can be a straightforward answer. See, if I start working right now, I will be working at a relatively lower level. Whereas if I go for MBA, it will give me faster career growth. What if I'm already part of a startup? If they ask me, why are you leaving your startup for MBA? If you are with a startup, you can very well talk about how you have got some exposure to different areas of management through your work in the startup, and now you want deeper knowledge, you want better knowledge of those areas. That is why you are going for an MBA. That can be a very straightforward answer. One question that has come up is, in one of my interviews, I was told that my answer is like, I'm saying that I have been made for management. How do I avoid this here? See, for this question, you will have to tell me what was the answer that you had given. Only on the basis of that, we could discuss as to where you may have gone wrong regarding this answer of yours. If not a career in semiconductor manufacturing, my secondary goal is to pursue a career in analyzing and framing strategies. Certainly, there is no harm in this answer. Do be prepared to justify your interest in analyzing and framing strategies. What exactly do you mean by this? Why are you interested in this? You have to be able to handle that. How to answer about it? Why question? If my alternative career is to continue in my current job profile, how to answer about its why question? Here you can certainly talk about how you are satisfied with your current job, what are the good opportunities that are there in your current job, and therefore those will be the reasons that you consider your current career opportunity good. If I'm saying that if I'm not going for MBA, I'm continuing with my current job, then essentially I'm saying that there may be 10 other possibilities for me, but my current job is at least better than those other possibilities. So in what manner is my current job better than those other possibilities that are there? Those better opportunities that you have in your current job, those will be the reasons for continuing with your current work. How will I defend the answer that 1 year MBA, executive MBA is not my interest? I want to go for 2 years MBA. 2 years MBA will give you deeper knowledge, deeper understanding than a 1 year MBA or an executive MBA program. That is the straight up forward answer as far as opting for 2 year MBA is concerned, as far as justifying opting for 2 year MBA is concerned. If I have a business idea which I'm working upon, can I say that I'll continue working upon it? This current job as an alternate career? Yes, you can talk about it. You can also talk about how MBA will give you some additional knowledge, and that will make you that will help you when you start your business. You can certainly talk about this. Did my engineering in electronics, and then I'm working as software QA since last 2.5 years. Now I want to do MBA in finance. Tell me how I should link those things. See over here, your engineering in electronics, it gave you some technical knowledge, it gave you technical know-how. For that reason, you went for software work. Now, MBA in finance, you would have to first explain your interest in finance. Then, if you are able to explain your interest in finance, your knowledge of finance and job profiles in finance, then you can very well talk about how MBA will give you good job profiles in that area which interests you. Otherwise, an alternative for you could be, do not mention finance at all. Just talk about MBA and how MBA will provide you career advancement. Later on, you may very well give an answer like, in the first year, I will typically, MBA students will typically learn about many different areas. After that, you would decide which area you wish to specialize in. Otherwise, if you wish to say clearly you want to specialize in finance itself, then yes, you will have to explain how or why you are interested in finance. You will have to be able to display good knowledge of the finance field. So with work experience of around 3.5 years, will they ask me why MBA now so late after 3.5 years? If yes, what should be my answer? Typically, such a question is not asked to Mancha. Typically, such questions are not asked. In fact, if you look at international B schools through GMAT, etc., those B schools have a cutoff of 3 years of work experience. You need to have at least 3 years of work experience before you even become eligible for those B schools, eligible to apply for those B schools. And the average student in B schools abroad will have work experience of at least 5 to 7 years. In fact, there will be many MBA students there who will have up to 16 years of work experience even. Those things are very common. So typically, you will not have such a question, see why MBA now so late after 3.5 years. Typically, such a question will not be asked. At the same time, if such a question is asked, what should be your answer? One very common answer that candidates have given and good answers that they have given are that in my current role, I realize that after a certain level, being an MBA, having an MBA will be very important as far as further promotions are concerned, as far as better opportunities, better profiles are concerned. Hence, I came to know that MBA would be critical even for my career advancement. That is why I chose to go for an MBA. That is a very straightforward, very honest answer, and again an answer where you will not have any problems justifying it. You will not have many cross questions to that. Can we talk about specific field in first question like management in finance or marketing? Yes, as we have already discussed, you can talk about specific field, but then be prepared for good questioning on those fields. You will have to be able to display that you have good knowledge of those fields, whatever field you choose. You will have to have good knowledge of the kind of job profile, the kind of careers that you can expect from those fields. For example, if I talk about, say, management in finance, many people would say they want to go for MBA in finance. After that, they wish to work in banks. Now, if you look at banks, if you look at retail banking, in retail banking, careers in finance are almost entirely in retail banking. Careers, management careers, MBA, careers for MBA are almost entirely about marketing careers, marketing and sales profiles. Even finance MBAs who go into retail banking will end up doing sales, marketing, and just these two areas. Their work will not involve practically any finance at all. Similarly, in banking further, if you go to wholesale banking or if you go to something like wealth management, again, even these will primarily be marketing profiles, not finance profiles, despite the fact that they will hire MBA in finance people for this. So in this manner, you will have to display, if you say you are interested in a particular field of management, say finance or marketing, as you have asked in your question, or any other field, you will have to display good knowledge of that field, good interest in that field. There is no harm in mentioning such specialization, but do be prepared to explain, display your interest and awareness of those fields. Any points if you want to justify entrepreneurship as a future goal? If you wish to justify entrepreneurship as a future goal, there was a candidate who just a little while ago had posted in the chat box that can they mention that they already have a business plan which they are improving, which they are fine-tuning right now, and which they wish to continue working on later on. So similarly, you can talk about the advantages that you see in entrepreneurship, that you see in starting a business of your own. It will give you maybe better earnings. It will give you better opportunities for growth. That is why you are ultimately interested in entrepreneurship. That can be, those can be some points which justify this. Some of you may even be from business families. That again would directly explain entrepreneurship. You may have seen that in your family itself, and that you may be inspired to take up that. That can be a very straightforward answer. If I want to set up a school, what cross questions could be asked? First question, why do you want to set up a school? What information, what knowledge do you have about this field? What kind of market do you expect for this? Those are some typical questions that you can expect, Mohit. How should we tackle engineering and technical subject questions, particularly when one has almost 2 years of work experience? Padmaja has this question. See, for all of you, not just for engineers, for all of you, ideally, you should be prepared to handle at least some questions from a CADS area, from your core subjects during graduation. Ideally, for this, you will not have, since you will not have enough time to prepare on all the subjects that you would have studied, you should at least prepare those 2 or 3 favorite subjects of yours. Those 2 or 3 subjects of yours which you were very good at. Even for your tell us about yourself, tell me about yourself question, even for your intro question, you are asked to mention maybe 1 or 2 subjects. Those subjects, those which are your favorite, you can talk about those, you can prepare on at least those subjects. Can I explain a business plan which is far away from my work? Yes, definitely, no harm in that. Completely contrasting fields, yes, you can do that, there is no harm in that. How important is language, vocabulary, or sentence formation while answering all the questions in the form? Typically, these questions will not be weighted on language, vocabulary, or sentence formulation. Typically, you will not be penalized for those things until and unless there are so many such errors in the form, in your answers in the that they become glaring, that they become very noticeable. If that happens, then the panel will certainly penalize you a little bit. Otherwise, generally, it should not matter. This is why ideally we say you should first write your answer on a notebook, get your answers checked by your faculty or by your friends, your family members, redo it, improve it, and only then post it. Do not just go and type your answer directly. Instead, prepare your answer. Should I write questions in chat area or Q&A area as my questions are not being discussed? Nishant Kumar. Nishant, please write your questions in the chat area itself, not in the QA area. All of you, please write your questions in the chat area, not in the Q&A area. Okay, so I think we are done with section 4. I think we have covered everything over here. Acha, Ankita has a good question. How to explain gap years in our education? Just be honest. Gap years do exist for many reasons. Often people prepare for various competitions, and for this reason, gap years do occur. So, do explain honestly why you have those gap years. If you are preparing for some entrance, mention those. There is no harm in being honest. Nishant Kumar now has his question. Can we also add here that if you also help me complete my education? Can we say that during my job, I have realized that my mind is not inclined towards technical work, and after BTech, I have only 2 options of future education, MTech and MBA. As I am not technically inclined, I am going for MBA. This again is a common question, especially from engineers. There have been many students, there have been many of my batchmates even, who say ki 4 years of engineering, the most important thing that they learned was that they could not be a good engineer. Or after that, 2 years of working in IT sector, again they learned that they cannot be good at that, or that they do not enjoy it, hence they want to go for MBA. Do not give such answers in your interview, because it makes it appear as though MBA is an escape option to you. If you say ki after engineering, after 2 years of working, I realized I don't like engineering, I'm not inclined towards it, then the straightforward question that comes up is ki now you have chosen to go for MBA. After 2 years of MBA education, and maybe after another 1 or 2 years of study or of work after MBA, you may then realize that management is not your cup of tea. What will you do then? You would have wasted around 3 to 4 years of yours. So such questions can come very commonly. Hence, do not say that MBA is your escape option. Even if you are saying that you don't want to go for, say, MTech, or you do not wish to continue in engineering, and hence MBA gives you an escape, even if you wish to say this, there may be many areas, there may be many other paths which you could have chosen apart from engineering. So why have you chosen MBA itself? Why not those other paths? Do whatever those reasons are, Those are the advantages that you see. Those are the benefits that you see in pursuing an MBA. So mention those advantages. Say simply, I see these advantages in MBA. That is why I wish to go for MBA. Do not say, I am running away from others. Do not portray your choices in a negative manner. Portray them in a positive manner. Are there any technical people who know engineering in the interview panel? Abhishek Singh has this question. Abhishek Singh, there is no straightforward answer to this. Some panels may have all engineers. Some panels may have 0 engineers. Some panels may have 0 engineers. Still, those professors may be far more aware of things than you are in your particular technical field. For example, there may be a professor who has a PhD in statistics, in statistical analysis. So even an engineer may be aware of some statistical tools, but the professor may have far better knowledge of that. So always assume that the people who are there in your panel are fully aware of what all questions they are asking you about. Do not assume that they are ignorant, that they may not know the answer. Do not try to bluff. You may end up paying a heavy price for that. So assume that the panel knows what they are talking about, what they are questioning you about, and therefore be absolutely honest in your answer. If you do not know the answer to any question, be very clear. Tell them, sorry sir, I do not know this. Use this as an opportunity to maybe guide the interview to some other area. Sir, I do not know this because I have been because I have not focused on this area. I am more interested in this other area. I was more interested in, say, my extracurriculars where I have so many achievements. You can do that. Or if you want to take a guess, you can also say, sorry sir, I am not sure of the answer, but if I have to guess, I think this is the reason, yeah, this is the answer. That can always be done. But do not assume that the panel may be ignorant of technical questions. Can you give an example of describing a sense weakness? Let's say I wish to say that my verbal skills are good, my spoken English is good, yeah, my communication skills are good. I can very well say that I am very good at communicating with others. I am very good at speaking to people, empathizing with them or understanding them, and thereby communicating my own requirements and expectations in a better manner. This can be one approach to describing this. I want to be an entrepreneur. Shall I lie and say that I want to continue with a job? There is no need to lie. If you are interested in entrepreneurship, you can certainly talk about it, but then you have to be able to justify that. You have to be able to explain what kind of business you would be interested in. Or if you say, I want to be an entrepreneur, why entrepreneur? That justification has to be there. How can working in a startup experience be a selling point in an interview for questions of alternative careers, management career? Working in a startup will typically give you experience of many different areas, many different kinds of work. In a startup, you will find that you are handling almost all kinds of responsibilities. There are no clearly demarcated structures. Hence, you will have exposure to many different areas. Since you have exposure to many different areas, you can think about making a career in any number of fields. That will straight away give you good justification for your alternative careers. Can I talk about going for certifications like CFA and FRM? Yes, as we have already discussed, if you have an interest in finance, these can definitely be alternative options that you have, different options that you have. What all things count for in most significant accomplishments? Does it necessarily have to be academic? No, it does not. We have already discussed this. You can even talk about accomplishments within your family, work that you have done within your family. Even that can be a significant accomplishment. Okay, we will move on to the next section. Extracurricular activities. Here they have asked you for extracurricular activities since school level. Then they have given activities of 3 different types: sports, organizational, cultural, social, at various levels. 5 levels are mentioned. School has also been mentioned over here. So the question says since school level, but then you are again asked for school level activities as well. So use this as an opportunity to talk about as many of your activities as you have. Again, planning is critical over here. Do think of, do draw up a list of all your important extracurricular activities. Identify your important activities. Then identify which of those are most important, which of those are most significant. So rank them in order of importance and then present them. Then give your answer to this question. This is how you should approach this question. What are your present hobbies? Talk about whatever work you have done. Be as specific as possible. For your answer on hobbies, be as specific as possible. There is absolutely no harm in not having a hobby. Let's say I have a job. I have a 10 to 12-hour job daily on a daily basis. At the same time, I was preparing for CAT. In such a situation, if I do not have any hobby, that is very much understandable. Listening to Bollywood music, can this be a hobby? Yes, it can be a hobby, but then be prepared for questions from those areas. Who are your favorite composers? Who are your favorite singers? Why? Singers, lyricists, etc. All such questions can emerge. For extracurricular activities or for your present hobbies, you need not mention any certification. If you have some certificate, you can mention those. Even if you do not have any certificate, there is no harm in that. If you have done some work, when questions are asked about it, then you will, if you are able to explain what all work you did, that itself will count in your favor. So certificates are not critical. But if certificates are present, they can only be an advantage. They can never be a negative for you. So even if certificates are not there, don't worry too much. If you are able to explain what you have done, that will be good enough. Can we add academic achievements here? Yes, you can add those academic achievements which are not related to your course curriculum. Let's say you have done some paper presentation, which was not a part of your course curriculum, which was done purely on your own initiative. You can talk about those things. No harm in that. Whatever is separate from your coursework, that can be talked about here. When you talk about present hobbies, if my hobby is something like, say, painting or something like poetry writing, I can very well, in such cases, take some samples of my work to the interview. Carry some samples of your work as well. If you carry some samples of your work, the panel may show interest in that. They may discuss those and you may get some extra marks. Or at most, they will not be interested in it, hence you will not get any extra marks. Certainly, they will not penalize you for carrying samples of your work there. So do carry as many samples of your work as you can. Can a hobby be teaching orphans? Yes, Shruti, that can definitely be a hobby, and such a hobby would even reflect your interest in others, your compassion, your sympathy, empathy, etc. Hence, yes, you can definitely quote that as an example. Watching various TV series, can it be a hobby? Can it be a hobby? Yes, it can be a hobby, but then you have to be able to justify that. You have to be able to handle questions, in-depth questions, very specific questions regarding those TV series. I have a lot of extracurricular activities till the time I was school, did nothing in those fields in college. Would such a thing create a bad impression? Arushi has this question. No, Arushi, it need not necessarily create a bad impression. Especially if, let's say, you have good acad in your college, then you can very well say, as I grew up, I decided I needed to focus on my studies, hence I did that. I did not focus on my hobby. That can very well be mentioned. It will not necessarily create a bad impression. Can I say photography? Do I have to carry photographs? Yes, you can definitely say photography, and if you carry photographs, that will be great. Keen interest in analyzing handwriting, can that be a hobby? Anvesha, yes, that can definitely be a hobby. Can reading newspaper be a hobby? Yes, it can be a hobby, but then do be prepared to handle questions on current affairs. Only one safe hobby like reading books is okay. Yeah, it is okay. There is no harm in that. I like writing too, but have not written anything great to showcase in the interview. Even if you have written a little bit, you can carry samples of your work. There is no harm in that. If we take reading as a hobby, what kind of questions can I expect? Let's say I say that reading is my hobby. The first question, obvious question that will be there is, what do you read? Novels, non-fiction, magazines, newspapers, academic books, technical books, what do you read? That's the first question. What kind of genre are you interested in? Who is your favorite author? How many of his books have you read? Which are the last 3 books that you have read? Which is your favorite book? Which is your favorite character? These are some standard questions that you can expect. I don't have certificates for my extracurriculars. Can I write them? Yes, you can, Praveen. We have already discussed this. You can definitely write about these. If asked that, did you attend any coaching for your preparation, what would be the best answer? The honest answer would be the best answer. There is no harm in that. So these were, I write love stories, Tulika. Will that be completely inappropriate to share? No, there is no such thing as an inappropriate hobby. And writing love stories, no, there is no harm in that, Tulika. You can certainly write. You can certainly mention that. No harm in that at all. What questions can be asked for cooking as a hobby? Akriti has this question. What kind of cuisine do you prepare? What kind of cuisine do you like? Which is your favorite dish? What is the recipe of that dish? If I have, let's say you say that I like cooking some chicken curry. Okay, let's say I have 500 grams chicken. How much of various spices would I use in that? Such questions can very well be asked. Do we need to cite one activity or a list of post-health activities is acceptable? A list will be acceptable, Pooja, no harm in that. If I say dancing is my hobby, what type of questions will be asked? You may be asked to describe the dance form. You may be asked to describe the various schools in that dance form. You may be asked to even show a few steps over there. You may be asked to mention some prominent dancers, some prominent practitioners of that particular dance form in which you are interested. I have read a few Shakespeare dramas. Can I be specific in saying I like reading Shakespeare? Yes, you can. No harm in that. Do read up about Shakespeare in that case. What to write in any other information, any other achievement, any other work that you have done, any other interest that you have. Those are the things that you can write about in any other information, or you can even leave it blank. There is no harm in that. Please provide us with your remarks what to write in it. That is entirely personal. You can write about, just as for any other information, you can write about any other information that you wish to give. Can they ask me to sing since I was a singer in college? Yes, they can. If you mention that you are a cartoonist, a painter, an artist, they may, if you do some sketching, etc., they may ask you to perform some work over there, do some work over there. When asked about time period of work, example from date to date, what should I write if I'm still continuing work in a company? Just write about the time for till which you have worked at the time of your filling up the form. Whatever time has been completed, mention that. Scholastic achievements do not fit in any of the questions as such. Should we write it in any other info? You can definitely mention it in other info activities. Aisha says, do college societies and PORs come in EPA section, or should it be put in any more information? It will come under the extracurriculars, Aisha. Sabarni says, can I say that I have always enjoyed taking up the role of leader coordinator and the PhD interaction person? MBA, yes, you can mention that, no harm in that. What is the difference between extracurricular and co-curricular? Co-curricular would be something closely related to your acad and will be done within the confines of your school or college itself. Extracurricular, on the other hand, will be something that has absolutely nothing to do with your coursework. If I want to start my own business, what is the specialization I can mention in interview? There is no reason to mention any specialization in such a case. Medals in ACADS, that will be a part of your ACADS itself now, Vishal. Okay, so finally, tips to fill the form. By now, you all would have read it. We have already discussed most of these things, most of these points. Be honest. Be honest. Read the directions carefully. Write down your answer on a piece of paper first. Check it yourself. Get others to check it. Get others' feedback as well. Then correct it. Only then submit it. Only then fill up the online form. Do not write there first. Instead, first prepare your first draft in a rough form. Improve on that, and only then proceed. Maintain legible handwriting, that will not be applicable in this case. Avoid cutting, overwriting, etc. Again, that will not be applicable in this case. Be brief, yes. Do not write too much unnecessarily. Be honest, because whatever you mention, you may be questioned on this in your interview, as we have discussed. Now, a brief intro of IIM Kozhikode's selection process, second stage. If you look at last year's process, they had one writing ability test, one personal interview. Now, this year, what they have done is, they have mentioned GD/WA and PLA. This is what they are calling their second stage. So, there is a small chance that they may have a GD or some other kind of oral exercise apart from personal interview as well. This is what they have done this time around. So, do be prepared mentally for anything. Last year, they had conducted a writing ability test plus personal interview. If you look at last year's writing ability test, candidates were given 45 minutes to write on the topic. No other institute gives you that much time. Also, they gave you 500 word limit. 500 words was the limit. Again, that is higher than that given in most institutes. Most institutes give you 200 to 300 words. Topics given were philosophical in nature, often required candidates to take a stand on them. Some of the topics were, I don't know the keys to success, key to failure, please everyone, forgive your enemies, don't forget their names, absence of evidence, not evidence of absence. In your PDP handbook as well, some of these topics will be given. IIM Calcutta also typically gives philosophical topics, abstract topics. So do look at those topics as well for your preparation. Also, when you prepare for your essay writing, for your writing ability test, what you should do is get some blank sheets and write on those. Do not write in a regular notebook. For your practice essays which you prepare at home, write on blank A4 size sheets, because that is the kind of sheet that you get in your actual processing. Institutes do not give you sheets which already have lines drawn or margins drawn. So you will have to take care of this. You have to ensure that you get into the habit of writing on blank sheets. Kozhikode personal interview last year, typically 2-member panels had interviewed candidates. Interviews had been very general in nature and there was no set pattern. As we had been discussing, even if you have 2 or 3 years of work experience, you may still get some questions related to your ACAD. So there is no way of predicting what kind of question you will be asked. It depends entirely upon the panel. Even if you have lots of work experience, you may be questioned purely on your academic background. Even if you had, say, even if you have a lot of work experience, candidates may question you only about your goal setting, or they may ask you only about current affairs. So do be prepared for all areas related to your profile. Do not assume that if you have a particular profile, you will be asked questions from only a certain set of areas. Do not assume any such thing. That's it then about the IIMK form and about the IIMK process. Hina has this last question: with 10 months work experience, will they ask work or a CAD? As we just discussed, Hina, you cannot predict any such thing. It depends on panel to panel, varies from candidate to candidate even, hence no such thing can be predicted. Do students need to answer second and third employment detail questions? Yes, if you have work experience. If you do not have work experience, you can leave that blank, because those questions clearly mention accomplishment in your professional career. They clearly mention leadership skills during your professional career, ability to work in teams during your professional career. Okay. Will this webinar be uploaded so that I can check out on the spot? Yes, it will be uploaded. In one of my, Tina has this question. I have analytical and logical skills, managerial and leadership skills, and management career will help me use these skills. This was the answer that you had given, and for which you were told, I'm saying like I have been made for management. Saying that I have those precise skills, analytical and logical skills, managerial and leadership skills, it seems that you are mentioning skills to match the career choice that you have. So some panel may have that feeling. Instead, if you had talked about your skills, then given some examples of those, then talked about, say, your career path, that would have been a better approach. Further, I have a particular set of skills that will help me in management. Is there any particular set of skills which a manager is necessarily needs to have? Can we clearly say if there is any one particular set of skills? If I have good analytical and logical skills in any kind of profile, that will help me. Similarly, if I have good leadership skills, again, that will help me even in politics, that will help me even in civil services, that will help me in any industry, any profile. So it's not necessarily that management career is the only field where I will be able to use such skills. I like mentoring people at a professional level, so I want to do an MBA, become a consultant. Is this an unsafe answer where I can be good? No, it's a decent answer. There's no harm in this at all. Can I say I want to go into management consulting? That is why I want to pursue MBA? Yes, you can clear, definitely mention that, Charu. But if you mention that, be prepared to handle questions on what all is involved in management consulting. Why do you like management consulting? Can you please repeat WAT topics? Shruti, the WAT topics we had discussed here, they are also there in your PDP handbook. What is the ideal word length of the career goals answers? Arushi has this question. See, as we have discussed, typically most institutes give you between 50 to 150 words. So ideally, try not to use more than 100 to 150 words. 150 words would be more than sufficient. Anything longer may appear boring, may bore the panel, and may not add value to your answer. Okay, so we will be closing the session now. Thank you all for attending. The webinar will be uploaded on your account as well, on your on our website as well, so you can access it later there as well. Communication task, oral and written, for about 30 minutes in this year's pattern. How is the difference on GDA and VAT? This is the point, Monica. We do not know exactly what they will be doing this year. They have not specified that. Can small-scale industry experience count with 20 employees? Yeah, definitely. Graduation in 2013, no work experience. Yeah, is this a negative point for me? Not necessarily. If you can justify what you are doing during this period, that will be good enough. Should not I answer first question of employment details if I'm a fresher? No, Praveen, you should not. Okay, so we will be ending the session now. Thank you all for attending. I graduated. Prerna, I have already answered your question. Can I give a positive or negative or neutral thoughts in WAT topics? Yeah, you can take any stand. There is no harm in that. Whatever stand you take, whatever opinion you present, ultimately it should be supported by the points that you mention over there. That's it. Should I take a school plan file with me if I mention I want to set up a school? Yeah, definitely, Mohit. That will be very helpful. If you mention that you want to start a particular kind of business, yeah, a particular kind of activity, whatever research you have done in that field, whatever work you have done in that field, do carry that with you. That will definitely be helpful. How to prepare for abstract WAT topic? Aditya has this question. Practice writing, that would be the best approach, Aditya. Do remember that for abstract topic, you should ideally explain your interpretation of the topic in the first paragraph, then elaborate on that. What should be the ideal word count in WAT article? Akriti, different institutes have different word limits. IIFT, for example, just asks you to write on one side of one sheet of paper. Some institutes give you 200 words as the limit. Some give you 300 words as the limit. Kozhikode last year had given 500 words as the limit. So each institute sets its own word limit. There is no such thing as a standard ideal word count. Can working with an NGO be mentioned as an extracurricular activity? Yes, definitely. You can even mention this as your greatest accomplishment. Even that can be done. Okay, finally then, thank you all for attending. We are closing the session now. Thank you.